Welcome to your most favorite channel, Heartbeat. My name is Dr. Amrit Kejriwal. This channel is mainly meant for MBBS students, postgraduates, medical professionals, and all those who may find it a bit more easy. It is an attempt to make the complicated medical sciences more simplified and easier for understanding.
In continuation with our previous lectures on cardiology, we return to cardiac murmurs. Many things have been described in the previous videos. The channel's name is Heartbeat. My name is Dr. Amrit Kejriwal. Coming to the significance, why to read about cardiac murmurs? Patients may need prophylaxis from infective endocarditis. Patients having athletes and sports, they have sudden cardiac death. Premium for life insurance and employment is more. Coexisting cardiac abnormalities increases the pregnancy and fetal risks. And in non-cardiac surgery, there may be increased mortality with coexistent cardiac disease, and which can be detected by the detection of murmurs. So when the patient comes to us, we must find whether it's an organic murmur or it's a normal variant. Anatomic origin of an organic murmur must be identified and look for possible etiologies, whether it's congenital or acquired, and if it's acquired, what is the possible etiology must be looked for. Various investigations are there which can be done, which includes ECG, X-ray chest, 2D echo, and cardiac catheterization. Now coming to the murmurs. Murmurs are mainly due to turbulence. Turbulence is due to various factors such as the velocity of blood flow, obstruction to blood flow, alterations of the accelerating pressure, and blood flow from a small chamber to a larger chamber. Also, decrease in blood viscosity such as anemia may increase turbulence. So these are the various factors: velocity of blood flow, obstruction to blood flow, alteration of the accelerating pressure, blood flow from small chamber to large chamber, and decrease in blood viscosity, which cause the origin of murmurs. And if the orifice decreases, there is increase in the velocity, which causes increase in the murmur. This is applicable only for a given flow rate. Now let us see how the blood flow turbulence occurs in a normal and various other conditions. So in the normal, see the force of contraction. Green arrows represent the force of contraction. This is the blood vessel. So this is normal blood flow. Normal blood flow. If there is stenosis with normal pressure, normal accelerating force, there is turbulence which will be noted over here. You can see all these white arrows where there is turbulence, and later on it becomes laminar. If there is increased force of contraction, the number of green arrows increases, force of contraction increases. There is turbulence at the initial part, and later on the blood flow becomes laminar, but there is some turbulence over here because the arrows are not flowing in direct. They are striking the vessel walls. And in anemia, you can see the color is light red. Patient is anemic. This force of contraction increases. The blood flow also increases, and there may be turbulence or not, but usually there is no turbulence if there is only anemia. So we can see the various conditions in how the blood flow causes turbulence. Auscultation of murmurs. If with the bell we hear the low frequency sounds. With the diaphragm we hear the high frequency or mixed frequency sounds. In a quiet room is preferable. Relaxed patient is required, and relaxed doctor, and above all a relaxed doctor. If the doctor is anxious, then he will not be able to hear a murmur. Grading of murmurs. Grade 1 is a cardiologist murmur, which is said to be heard only by the cardiologists. Grade 2 is soft but audible murmur with stethoscope. Grade 3 is prominent murmur, and it means that heart disease should be present. Grade 4 is palpable with thrill. Grade 5 is louder with thrill, and grade 6 is audible with edge of stethoscope. Classification of murmurs. Murmurs can be classified into systolic murmurs, diastolic murmurs, or continuous murmurs. Systolic murmurs are further classified into ejection murmurs or regurgitant murmurs. We'll see these murmurs one by one. Now coming to the systolic murmurs. They can be ejection murmurs, which can be flow or functional. Coming to the flow murmurs, they can be due to innocent murmurs or physiological due to anemia, hyperthyroidism, or post-exercise. Just let us see. This is the baseline. Over here you can see the first heart sound, and here is the second heart sound. Let us see how the flow of the functional murmur is. It's in the systole between S1 and S2, and it's a crescendo decrescendo murmur. Pathological murmurs can be seen, systolic murmurs can be seen aortic or pulmonary valve stenosis, dilatation of aorta or pulmonary artery, and left ventricular outflow obstruction or right ventricular outflow obstruction. So you get a murmur which is a crescendo decrescendo but extends at right up to the systole to diastole between S1 and S2. So the murmurs, they classically end by 2/3 of the systole, and aortic stenosis and pulmonary stenosis may continue till end of systole. Regurgitant murmurs, commonly seen in mitral regurgitation, tricuspid regurgitation, and ventricular septal defects. In this, the murmur is present in the systole and extends from S1 and S2 and is of continuous intensity. So continuous systolic pressure gradient, constant amplitude and shape. So you can see there is constant amplitude and constant shape. In mild MR, you may get a murmur only at the end of the systole. You can see over here. Diastolic murmurs. If there is incompetency of the semilunar valves, such as in aortic regurgitation or pulmonary regurgitation, the murmur begins immediately after S2 and goes up to a variable distance. You can see, and it's a decrescendo murmur, decreases in intensity. S1, S2, S1 baseline, and here is the murmur. Decrescendo murmur in incompetency of the semilunar valves. These are high frequency murmurs, decrescendo. Shape and length depend upon the diastolic pressure gradient. Ventricular filling murmurs, such as the mitral stenosis and tricuspid stenosis, and mitral regurgitation, VSD and ASD, you get augmented atrioventricular valve flow. So in ventricular filling murmurs, this is a different color altogether. This is the opening snap, mitral stenosis and tricuspid stenosis. You get a murmur that starts after the opening snap. And when there is augmented atrioventricular valve flow, you get an S3, and the murmur starts just after the S3. And if it's a presystolic murmur due to atrial contraction, it comes at the later 1/3 of the diastole, which you can see over here. Later 1/3 of the diastole. So this is a murmur of mitral stenosis and tricuspid stenosis, which comes after opening snap. This is a murmur of MR and ASD, VSD due to augmented AV flow, and a presystolic murmur due to atrial contraction, which can be heard. All these are different types of diastolic murmurs and ventricular filling murmurs. Continuous murmurs. These are commonly seen in PDA, coronary AV fistula, and ruptured sinus of Valsalva to right atrium. So in this, the murmur is present throughout the systole and diastole, and there is a persistent gradient of high pressure region to a low gradient region and peaks in late or mid systole. Shape is dependent upon the magnitude of the pressure gradient. Sometimes the early part of the systole and later part of the diastole, the murmur is not audible. Pathological murmurs. So all diastolic murmurs are pathological. All pansystolic and late systolic murmurs are pathological. Continuous murmurs, they indicate a heart disease. Very loud murmurs are usually pathological, and if the patient has associated cardiac abnormalities, it's pathological. Evaluation. So murmurs, whenever they are present, you have to first of all classify whether it's systolic or diastolic. Then see if they're early, mid, or late. Duration, intensity depending upon the grading, frequency and shape, and look for other associated abnormalities.